Hello and welcome to Daily Records. I am Tommy Burton, and today we are going to talk about the album by Lillie Mae, that'd be Lillie Mae Rishi, Forever and Then Some, released on Third Man Records in 2017. This is one that I picked up from the Third Man Rolling Record Store, complete with an autograph from Lillie Mae. Now, a lot of people, if you're looking at this and you're trying to place it, Lillie Mae was and is the fiddle player that was in the Peacocks, which was the all-female backing band for Jack White. So if you saw Jack White on his first solo tour, you got to know Lillie Mae. And then she went on to play with Jack on his second solo tour for the Lazaretto album. And so she's familiar. And if you're familiar with the Jack White album Lazaretto, you know her. She sang the harmony and counter vocals on the duet Temporary Ground. Lillie Mae Rishi, she is an American, and she is known to a lot of bluegrass and country music fans because she was part of a group with her siblings, the Rishis, who later became Gypsy, spelled with J-Y-P-S-I. And of course, she started playing fiddle and mandolin in Jack White's band, and everybody heard her. And she started releasing stuff on Third Man Records, including the single "Nobody's" and "Same Eyes," which came out on the Third Man Blues series. She's been playing since she was a kid, so she's got chops. She's from Illinois, and her dad is Forrest Carter Rishi. He was a traveling singer, and he taught all 5 of his kids to play and sing, and they became the Forrest Carter Family Band. And so he traveled up and down the highways in their motorhome, and they busked around from Branson all the way to Texas, even in Nashville. They would park in campgrounds and go out and play and sing. And so she's spent most of her life on the road. But despite of that, her dad was very religious. They had very firm boundaries. So it wasn't this sort of feral, wild lifestyle that these kids led. And so finally around 2000, they were invited by Jack Clement, that's Cowboy Jack, to come to Nashville. And he kind of saw what was going on there, and he saw that they had something, and particularly with Lillie Mae. She even went on to say that Jack was kind of like a grandfather to her. And so he kind of picked up that she would just pick up these instruments. And they remained very close with each other. And so they eventually became the Rishis, her and her brothers and sisters. And they started playing in Nashville, and they sort of built a reputation as one of the great live acts. And they changed their name to Gypsy. Now, Gypsy may sound familiar because they had a top 40 country hit with I Don't Love You Like That. That was written by Liz Rose and Stephanie Chapman. But they really weren't, country radio being what it is, just wasn't really prepared for that kind of Americana roots sound. So she eventually ended up joining up with Jack White and becoming part of his touring band. And Jack recognized the talent, and so he signed her to his Third Man label and produced this first album of hers, first and only album, Forever and Then Some. And so she wasn't discovered by Jack White by no means, because, like I said, she went back as a child musician, Jack Clement. But this sounds like, even though it is a debut album, it sounds like an album from someone that has been around. She has a very tender singing voice, and she reminds me a lot of Emmylou Harris, with maybe a little bit of Dolly Parton thrown in for good measure. She plays guitar and fiddle. Her sister plays mandolin and helped co-write some of the song. So some of the Rishi family is featured on this album. the first track's a good giveaway, Over the Hill and Through the Woods. I mean, it's a perfect mix of sort of outlaw country and bluegrass, but there's a little bit of a swamp rock tinge underlying it, and that may be the Jack White influence. Honky Tonks and Taverns is a classic, just sort of country song, reminiscent of Buck Owens and that sort of Bakersfield sound. And there's a little bit of an old school two-step. And the single, of course, was the song "Wash Me Clean," which is more of a traditional bluegrass sound. Now, those of you that are familiar with Jack White that worked with Loretta Lynn on her album Van Lear Rose, this is definitely more of steers more, whereas Van Lear Rose definitely steered Loretta in more of a rock direction. This definitely goes more into sort of an old-timey acoustic bluegrass tradition. So just a really, really solid listen. But all the way through, all the songs grab me because they're very melodic, and you can sing along to them. And so she writes a catchy tune. And so I expect big things from her. Third Man has really put out some great country artists. Margot Price, recently Joshua Headley, who I talked about before on here, and Lillie Mae is a fine addition to that group and that class of singer-songwriter and musician. And so Lillie Mae's Forever and Then Some is today's Daily Record. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. It's TommyBurton75. I love interacting with you guys. In the meantime, I'll see you all again tomorrow with another Daily Record.